Welcome to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast, your weekly news roundup of hunting, fishing, trapping, and conservation stories from around the Gem State. Hosted by Fish and Game's Public Information Specialist, Connor J. Lease.
And welcome back to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin podcast. Now, our sister podcast, Shooting the Bull, you need to check it out. We're putting those puppies out now every 2 weeks. It's a lot of work, but hopefully y'all are enjoying them. The latest episode, episode 5, is one you're not going to want to skip over. In fact, download it right now and put it on while you're heading out this weekend. Bieri and I sat down with now retired Conservation Officer Brian Merrick, who spent 26 years wearing the green and grays and patrolling the Treasure Valley. Now, I know what you're thinking, because I thought the same thing at first too. What's so wild about a CO patrolling Boise? Wrangling geese? Riding a few fishing without a license tickets? Oh no. You will not believe some of the insane stories Brian encountered during his 26 years at Fish and Game. Everything from alligators to Tasmanian poaching rings to running out of gas in a helicopter. It's an incredible episode, so go give it an ear. Now, this week on the Hook and Bulletin, we're discussing why and when our fisheries managers choose to initiate a fishing salvage, boundary changes for Canada goose hunting in Southeast Idaho, and this month's fish stocking report. But first, if you're hitting the mountains these next few weeks for elk and are paranoid about the heat getting to your animal before you get it back to camp, here's a helpful guide to prevent your game meat from going bad. Some early season hunting opportunities have already begun in Idaho, with additional archery seasons and moose hunts starting in September, which is now the month that we're in. While early season hunts can provide an excellent opportunity to harvest a big game animal, warm weather brings additional challenges when it comes to properly caring for game meat to prevent it from spoiling, especially when dealing with larger animals like moose and elk. The key to preserving meat in hot weather is to begin the cooling process as quickly as possible. Meat spoils the quickest around the ball joints in the hip and underneath the front shoulders. Your harvest should be immediately skinned, reduced to quarters, and quickly transported to cold storage. In larger animals, it may even be necessary to make some cuts in between muscles to allow the bone to allow heat to escape. Larger muscle masses take a long time to cool, and meat can spoil in a matter of hours if heat cannot escape. Failure to cool down meat fast enough may result in what is commonly referred to as bone souring. Bone souring is caused by an explosion of bacteria, typically near the bones, that gives the meat a pungent aroma and a foul taste. Once bone souring has occurred, there is no way to salvage or reverse it. Hunters have a legal and ethical obligation to properly care for game meat they harvest. Allowing game meat to spoil will not only result in lost meat, but the hunter may also be cited for wasting game. Having a plan in place before you harvest in warm weather will help you end up with a freezer full of quality meat instead of the heartache of spoiled meat. When an animal is harvested in the evening, it still needs to be found, cleaned, and processed as quickly as possible. Keep in mind that the ground is a great insulator. The elevated part of the carcass might cool slightly, but the bottom side will retain heat and sometimes spoil if it's left overnight. Rule number 1 is having ice available. If you're making a relatively short trip from the field to home or field to camp, fill the body cavity of an unskinned pronghorn or deer with ice bags to help it cool down. But beware, body heat can remain in the thickest parts of the animals, such as the hindquarters, and stuffing with ice is only a temporary measure. You should not rely on ice alone in the body cavity of larger animals like elk or moose, which will require skinning and additional cutting to allow heat to escape. For longer trips, blocked ice in a quality cooler will last much longer than cubed ice. Rule number 2 is don't hang meat if it's too hot. It is safer to skin, quarter, and put the meat on ice rather than hang it in fluctuating temperatures. A large cooler will hold most or all of a deer that's been quartered or an elk that has been cut into smaller pieces. Remember to leave evidence of sex and species as per rules found on page 102 of the 2025 Big Game Seasons and Rules booklet. Rule number 3, find a meat processor. It is becoming more common for hunters to take animals into a processing facility rather than butchering the meat at home. Knowing where the nearest meat processing facilities are located and their hours of operation will make it much easier to get meat taken care of quickly. Some meat processors only accept game animals at certain times of the year, and space may be limited, so it never hurts to make a phone call before you go hunting. Rule number 4, protect the meat from insects. In temperatures below 40 degrees, flies are rarely a problem. But in higher temperatures, flies are your number one enemy. Except for maybe those forest grouse that are, they jump out at you while you're tiptoeing through the woods. Game bags are essential to keep meat free of flies and clean as well. In warm weather, always bag skinned meat immediately. It is far easier to keep meat clean than it is to remove fly eggs, hair, dirt, grass, and pine needles later. Rule number 5, use water carefully. There are conflicting views about washing down a big game animal with water after it is skinned. Most professional meat processors agree that using clean, cold water to remove animal hair and dirt is a good practice if the carcass air dries quickly so that the water does not encourage bacterial growth. A cold water spray can also hasten the cooling process. That's all I got on this story. Hit the link below, though, if you want to read Logan Peterson's full article on our website. This next press release by Roger Phillips is going to dive into some of the reasons that fisheries managers choose to enact a fishing salvage on certain fisheries. Salvage fishing during summer is an unfortunate reality in Idaho. Somewhere in the state, a fishing water becomes too low to support fish, or too warm, or both, which can lead to salvage fishing. This is when Fish and Game temporarily suspends all bag limits and size limits in that body of water. Anglers can also take the fish by any method other than firearms, explosives, chemicals, electric current, or prohibited baits. First off, it's not an easy decision, but it's the right one. The decision to allow fish salvage is not taken lightly, and it can be controversial. But biologists have a long history of experience to guide them. If there is a reservoir, lake, or pond that's destined to be drained by the end of summer or otherwise become uninhabitable to fish, fish managers have limited options. They can either trap and relocate the remaining fish, they can offer salvage fishing, or make no changes to the regulations. Sometimes it's a combination of those, and each has its pros and cons. The decision to trap and relocate fish is based on 2 questions. First, can the fish be captured and transported effectively and efficiently? A variety of factors are considered, such as how accessible the fish are for capture, whether fish are too stressed to safely capture and transport, and whether there are personnel and equipment available to do it all. Second, will relocation significantly improve fishing where the fish are then moved to? There's often pressure from anglers to quote-unquote save all the fish, even though those fish may offer little, if any, benefit to anglers if they're moved to another location. Here's our state fisheries manager, Joe Kozovska.
Anglers sometimes say we're reluctant to trap and relocate fish, but under the correct circumstances, it can be a viable option. If it's feasible and provides benefits to anglers, relocating stranded fish is a good use of our resources.
Getting fish out of the water can be challenging because boat ramps are often out of the water, and there's often a ring of soft mud surrounding the remaining water, which makes it challenging getting equipment in and the fish out.
We face a cost-benefit decision, but we also realize it can be difficult for anglers to understand, and they may perceive those fish as going to waste, even if relocation would be costly and unlikely to improve fishing elsewhere.
Allowing salvage fishing allows most, or at least some, of the fish to be harvested, knowing the rest will likely die due to poor water conditions. Not salvaging may mean a few fish survive, and when conditions improve, the reservoir or pond refills, and the remaining fish restart the population, often with help from Fish and Game restocking it. Now, something to note here is we provide the fish, but we don't own the water necessarily. It's common for anglers to be frustrated when they see one of their favorite fisheries withering away during summer, but most Idaho reservoirs were built to store and deliver irrigation water. No one wants to see fish die-offs due to low water and warm temperatures, But Fish and Game provides those fishing opportunities knowing future conditions are uncertain, and they may periodically lose fish populations and have to restart them. The reason fishing exists at all in many reservoirs is because water owners and managers have cooperated with Fish and Game to provide fishing opportunities and access. But a water manager's obligation is to deliver irrigation water, not provide fishing and protect fish populations. After salvage fishing is allowed, it's typically a fairly short-term setback that requires the reservoir to refill and be restocked with catchable trout or fingerlings. Warm water fish may also be transplanted, such as bass and panfish, which will often restart a self-sustaining population within a few years if conditions allow. Now, that's all I got on that story. Go read Roger Phillips' press release if you want to learn more. Now, next up, a quick reminder about some Canada goose hunting boundary changes down in Southeast Idaho. As hunters ready their gear and make their plans to hunt Canada geese in Southeast Idaho this fall, they should take note of hunt boundary changes in areas 3 and 4 and how that may impact the timing of their hunting fun. Area 4 in the Southeast region used to include all of Bear Lake and Caribou counties, but now only includes portions of those counties. Area 3 now incorporates the west side of Bear Lake County and the section of Caribou County south of Highway 30. As a result of these changes, hunters need to be aware that some of their favorite hunting spots from previous years may now be included in a different area with different season dates. The current Idaho Migratory Game Bird Seasons and Rules shows these boundary changes on page 9 with the following text. Area 4 includes the following counties: Bear Lake County east of Highway 30 to Montpelier, south of Highway 89 to Ovid, and east of Highway 89 to the state line, and Caribou County north of Highway 30. Area 3 includes the following counties: Bannock, Bear Lake County west of Highway 30 to Montpelier, north of Highway 89 to Ovid, and west of Highway 89 to the state line, Benawa, Bingham County except that portion within the Blackfoot Reservoir drainage, Blaine, Bonner, Boundary, Caribou County south of Highway 30, Cassia County, Franklin, Gooding, Jerome, Kootenai, Lincoln, Minidoka, Oneida, Power, Shoshone, and Twin Falls counties. Canada goose season in Area 4 runs September 1st through the 15th of 2025 and then resumes October 4th, 2025 through January 1st, 2026. And Area 3 Canada goose seasons run from November 3rd, 2025 through February 15th, 2026. Idaho Fish and Game implemented this change to the hunt boundaries to help address requests for more late-year goose hunting opportunities. Of those hunters who provided input on specific proposals, 70% approved of the hunt boundary changes in Areas 3 and 4. Last thing I'm going to say is know before you go. It is the responsibility of all sportsmen and sportswomen to check current rules and regulations before heading out into the field. All seasons and rules brochures can be found at Idaho Fish and Game regional offices, licensed vendors, on the Go Outdoors Idaho mobile app, and online at our trusty website. It's idfg.idaho.gov. That's it for the major stories this week. Let's hit the rapid fire bulletin. Many of Idaho's lakes and ponds are soon going to be bolstered with Idaho Fish and Game stocking over 75,000 catchable-sized rainbow trout this September. We asked our Fish and Game hatchery staff to boil down some of the most notable stocking highlights coming to your local fishery this month. Hit the link below to see just where the stocking trucks will be dumping fish this September. Fish and Game's range grant application period is now open. The program aims, no pun intended, to establish, upgrade, expand, or otherwise improve public firearms and archery ranges in Idaho. Sarah Van Acker, our statewide range manager, said, quote, "This is a great opportunity for public range operators, either clubs or government agencies, to improve and enhance their facilities to better serve public shooters and archers. The deadline is November 3rd. Hey, attention potential trappers and wolf trappers. Fish and Game will be hosting 2 trapper education and 2 wolf trapper education classes in the Clearwater region this fall. All 4 classes will be held at the regional office in Lewiston. And over in Jerome, the Magic Valley region will be offering an instructor-led hunter education class on September 15th through the 20th. Remember, if a person wants to hunt this fall and they have never had a hunting license or taken a hunter education class, they will need to successfully complete a hunter education course before they can purchase a hunting license and tag. To sign up, go to idfg.idaho.gov/education and select Hunter Ed in-person courses. Seats are limited, folks, and they fill up quickly, so make sure you jump on it. That's all the news we have for this week. Thanks for putting an ear to Idaho Fish and Game's Hook and Bulletin. If there's something on your mind or if you got a question related to fish and game matters, feel free to drop us a line at podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Again, that's podcast@idfg.idaho.gov. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll catch you next week.